I'm your ice cream man, baby. Stop me when I'm passing by.
We're back for part two. Same outfits for part one, but here we are, part two, with freshness and new thoughts.
And carefully newly messied hair, so I can tell a little bit of a difference between this episode and the last one.
Me too.
Wow, yeah, I see. Look at you. Yeah, good call.
I lotioned up well, actually, I didn't lotion up between episode one and episode two today, but I am freshly shaven and lotioned.
Shaven and lotioned.
Ribbed for your pleasure.
Oh, my heavens.
So hello, we're back, Harleys and Hairspray.
I just threw something at him. I'm like, hey, remember I said I did that thing for 5 days? Well, I was gone for 10. What did I do for the other 5? I got something else to tell you. I went to Winnipeg.
So mysterious. And I spent many a year in my troubled youth in Winnipeg, proudly on the wrong side of the tracks, which was Winnipeg's north end.
Ooh.
Very mysterious. It's very...
Very
It's very Dr. Evil. It's how Dr. Evil must have grown up, or Megamind. You know, you have the good guy in the prep school, and then Megamind is growing up in prison. So at the north end of Winnipeg. So when you say Winnipeg, I need to know more. So we've been talking about art and creating and diving all in fully, and you've been away
10 days.
Okay, so Winnipeg.
I was in Winnipeg. I was at in Saint Laurent, at the lakes.
Yes, that's like the south end of the city, Saint Boniface and Assiniboine.
I think so. 45 minutes out. That's all I know.
Right.
In at the lakes, at Painted Sky Studio, and I was there because I'm on a path to get my certificate in expressive arts therapy.
What? That's incredible.
I know.
So hold on. You're going to be a facilitator for those that require a little bit of emotional assistance, and you're going to use art to get them there. Fill us in. What's going on?
Well, I actually don't really know. And what I mean by that is there was an impulse, felt right.
Mm-hmm.
I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll see how it wants to live. But I'll tell you, I was there for 4 or 5 days, and I've just started the process to be in this room with other people who like value expression in the way that I value expression. I was like, oh my God, where have you been all my life?
And of course, we've talked about finding your people,
right?
Right. One of the great journeys that we must undertake is finding your people.
Yeah.
So you find yourself in this environment where all of a sudden your people are around you.
And let's be, I have many people.
Right. You are very diverse and expansive in your soul.
I could slot into different rooms and go, oh my God, these are my people. But there's because there's people that like turn me on intellectually. There's people that like light me up in soulfully. There's like there's all different compartments, right?
Of course.
But this particular compartment, where it really landed for me, was in the space of no judgment. Because expressive arts therapy, and if we take the word therapy off the table for a second, and I don't need to take it off the table, other than it puts it in a box of having to heal people. Okay.
Sorry, I just broke up the word therapist into 3 syllables.
Yes. Help me out. Pissed? Where are we going? Yeah.
Rapist.
Oh, the rapist. Oh, yes. Oh,
that's horrible.
He's horrible.
I'm sorry.
And I love him.
I just love language and words so much. I'm wondering if there's a connection between therapy and an excavation of your soul.
I wouldn't call that rape.
No. That's a horrific word, but yeah. Okay, I'm just sorry.
This is where we're. Carry on. There's going to be more here.
Sometimes you shouldn't ask me why I'm smiling, because I'm smiling possibly for very poor reasons.
Well, you know what? I think we're right. Like, let's play here. Because, okay, so your brain went there. Your brain went to words. They went to words. They didn't go to a scenario. They went to words. You broke the words up.
That's right.
And what did I just say before that? No judgment.
Yeah. I mean, listen. we put these arbitrary compartments onto meanings, onto real life scenarios, and then we run from them, and we shouldn't. So I'm just playing with words.
Yeah, you're just playing with words.
The way they do on SNL.
Well, because one of the things I love about you is you actually have no attachment.
I have no...
None.
I have no malice.
No.
And I have no attachment.
No attachment. It literally, your brain saw those two things and you said them. That's it. That's it. In our previous episode, we were talking about theater of the oppressed and what it was like to be an agitated 50-year-old in the room, and as we were unpacking appropriateness, right? And how art is a place where all the things are welcome, because once you throw appropriateness in the room, you lost half of the art. And so I just think it's interesting because, you know, we could do the, oh my God, we should turn this episode off now because the word rape showed up, and we should just stop everything. Right? Or we can keep going and go, what's here? And
why are we giving it so much power?
Right?
I'm not.
Well,
in the real world, we understand how disgusting and vicious it is, but the word shouldn't have that much power. And we're not talking about the act. I'm just breaking down the word.
You just broke down the word.
Right. It's like this hilarious skit on SNL where the guy playing Sean Connery, and he's playing Jeopardy, and Jeopardy has categories. And instead of reading who reads as one of the categories, he reads it as whore ads. Right? Or another category was let it snow.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery reads it as let tits now. Like the French breaths happening currently. Let tits now. So but there's no attachment. It's just funny. It's not there's no connection to any real world event. It's just fun with words.
And where are the places that you don't have to put your guard up? Where are those places? Like, I'll tell you, we're going to get some hate messages on this now. Like,
I hope we do.
We're going to get some.
Either love or hate, nothing in between. Let's go.
And the people have all kinds of opinions about, I'm just making shit up now, about how I just let that slide. So what kind of feminist am I? Let me just feed you what you're going to say so you can just let it go, right? Like people are going to make all kinds of stuff, right? Or the bad guy you are who throws that around like it's just candy in the room. Like, oh my God. It's words, and that is not in any way to diminish the impact of violence. Like, they're two separate conversations. So let's go into this expressive arts therapy piece because,
You know how when your dog's on your bed and he just farts, and there's no guilt, no attachment, he just does what a dog does. He doesn't think about how it's going to impact you or affect you or connect it to any pejorative in the real world. He's just a dog farting at the end of a long day. That's how I look at words. It's just innocuous. There's nothing pernicious about it. And all you haters, why don't you look up those words in your dictionary?
oh,
And keep yourselves busy instead of sending us hate messages. Now, back to the lakes of southern
Saint Laurent.
Manitoba. Yeah, Saint Laurent.
Saint Laurent. When I walked in the door, they had already there's a cohort that I'm a part of, and this cohort had already begun because I was in a workshop with David Diamond last week. I missed this other piece. So they were already really cohesive. And it was an immersive weekend. We stayed together. We slept in the same house together. We were in a retreat center.
So you just camped out.
Totally.
Fantastic.
It was awesome.
Fantastic.
And so again, because I'm going to use this word and just hang in with me. The game we were playing, and not that it was a game, but the container or the game we were playing was permission. It was expression.
I love how we're inherently impatient with the reaction of the viewer. Like already we're just impatient with the perceived reaction of the viewer who's yet to watch this, but we've already lost our patience with you people.
Right. We're agitated 50-year-olds. That's why.
I love this so much.
Can we just get over it in order to get into it and be real about all the things and not to blah, blah, blah.
So permission.
And so, and there was, I remember this fella who was there. It was awesome. When we were finishing up the week, he's like, God, you walked in here. We'd already been working together for a week. And you walked in here not knowing anybody, and you were all in, he said. And he's like, that gave me permission.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell am I hanging back for? He said, if she's all in and she doesn't even know anybody, I can be all in. And the work we were doing, let me share my favorite part of it, because there's lots of things I could say here. I could explain expressive arts therapy. I could, talk about the cohort, but I just want to talk about the thing that blew my mind about expressive arts. I'm a communicator. I love words. You love words. We dig each other because we love words and lots of other reasons, but words is like this, like, right? Succulent. And there were exercises that we did that were without words. So it was like something would impact us. Mm-hmm. And we're like, they call it an aesthetic response. So what's your aesthetic response? And so whether, it might be a movement, it might be a sound. And what blew my mind was that what we were doing was actually pre-verbal. Pre-verbal. And then it was like it took me so long to like pack up my brain and go, like, it's almost like doors closing so that another door could open. I was like, right, because before context, you actually still have an impulse. Something happens,
of course.
It hits you. Before context, you still have a response.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we know how to do once we learn how to talk or put pictures in our head, even when we're babies, pre-context. Once we have pictures in our head and understandings, when something hits us and we give it away, give it back to somebody, it's with a context. But an aesthetic response is literally, this hit me and I'm responding. No context. And I was like, what? Like, just hold that for a sec, because that like took me hours.
Pre-verbal.
Pre-verbal.
Okay, hold on. I was talking to my
Pre-understanding.
I was talking to my son about this just moments before you came in, and I said, do you realize that our relationship with our dogs work on two levels only? One, the tactile, because we're constantly touching our dogs and rubbing their ears and cuddling and etc. So there's the tactile level. And number two, it's the level of tone. Because it's not about the words, it's about the tone. I could say, shmoopy loopy, scooby dooby, papa boo, and that's not a language we understand. But a dog will interpret that tone as being friendly and accessible and loving and affectionate. So we communicate with our dogs and build the strongest bonds in a essentially non-verbal manner, through non-verbal channels. It's tone and touch. And why don't we rely on some of those vehicles in the way that we connect with people more? We rely on our crutches of words and verbal compartments and communication and the dance of what did you mean by that?
And now we're into wordplay again.
And then it just gets messy and cumbersome and complicated. So I love this idea of being more visceral and more instinctive and more impulsive. Because we don't... How often, folks, do you do that? Where you're truly visceral and impulsive and not thoughtful, but guttural, right? Not cerebral, not cognitive, but purely reactive. Like, take my breath away. And what does that look like? But how can I communicate that without our traditional subsets of words and the vernacular? Love that.
And I want to even take it a bit further and go, what if we take the word communication off the table? Because communication implies you want to be understood. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's part of the therapeutic process, of course, is being witnessed and, all of that.
In your commune.
In your commune.
Your group.
In my group.
Be understood in your group.
Totally. You
communication.
Right? And there's so much then relying on, there's so much pressure then on ensuring that the thing that you're doing actually makes sense to the other person.
To the receiver.
And does it even matter sometimes if it makes sense or doesn't make sense? There was a moment, I had a moment with someone I had a my partner was actually, she was a hybrid, so she was online. So we were on Zoom and we were doing this thing together. And I swear to God, I'm not kidding. We did like contact improv.
Like the dance
like
version of
contact improv, which is all about,
Where
talking
you
to each other
spawn and the negatives and you come
physically
in,
and-
yeah.
right? And we, without words, ended up doing that hybridly. There was this moment where we're doing this thing with our hands and we ended up totally in sync. No words, no communication. There was no deliverable about being understood. It was, am I in this moment with this person together?
Kind of erotic,
Oh,
actually.
it was incredibly
Like
intimate.
Transcendent,
Yes, it was
yes,
incredibly
yes.
intimate. So the communication is secondary. The connection is the primary.
Say that again.
The communication is secondary because the connection is primary.
Fantastic. And that's how we are with babies.
That's how we are with babies.
Right, when they're pre-verbal. That's how we're with pets. And those are the deepest bonds at the earliest levels of interaction. And they're based in connection, not verbal communication.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow that gets stripped away from us. There's some sort of erosion with that kind of bonding in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there shouldn't be, because it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's glorious.
Right?
You know that contact improv, that's exactly what happens in a writing room. So while you were in southern Manitoba at the lakes, I was in the middle of April writing A Christmas Carol. So Hallmark does those movie of the weeks.
Yes.
Johnny is 15 and he gets his 15-year-old high school sweetheart pregnant, and they have to break the news, and it's around Christmas time, and we need to be here loving each other, and we just want to wish for the best, Hallmark movie of the week.
Hallmark movie.
A card, but a movie version.
Right.
Unless-
Card, but a movie version.
Like I read this card in 30 seconds, but we're going to convert this into a 90-minute vehicle.
Mhm.
Why? So nobody's why. But they need music. So we come in, and I'm in a room with two songwriters. One is a dear friend, so I have a real comfort with him and a very fantastic, easy rapport. We know each other. We're contemporaries. We've been doing this a long time. And then there's also his friend, who's a complete stranger to me. But he's the one with the connection to Hallmark, and he's the one bringing this vehicle to us. And he says, this is what I need. And he had a kind of a musical idea going on. So right away, I don't want to step on his toes, because if he's the Hallmark guy and he has an idea, I would think that idea is reflective of what the Hallmark project needs. So I'm careful. So he gives this idea, and and I'm so glad that it wasn't a finished idea, because it needed to be sculpted and shaped. And so my friend, let's call him writer 2, and then the Hallmark is writer 3. So number 2 says, yeah, I kind of like this. What do you think? And I say, well, this is great. You know what? Why don't we do this? We're 3 boys sitting in a room. What if we made Santa one of our homies? And what if we talked to Santa like, hey man, we haven't checked in with each other for a while. Why don't we hang out? Like go to a soccer game, go to the pub for a drink. This could be my favorite time of year. And of course, Christmas is, for so many people, a favorite time of year. But for us, it wasn't about that. It was like male bonding.
Wow.
We need to have some boys' time. We need to get on a boat. But Christmas vibes, right? And Santa's just he's the missing writer. We're talking to Santa like, you should be here with us right now, because the 3 of us want to hang with you. It's been way too long. If you were here with us and we would just shoot the breeze, this could be our favorite time of year. And of course, the song is called My Favorite Time of Year, but it's about all your dreams coming true. And so we all have a role in this story, but Santa's role is making dreams come true. So we all have a muscle to flex, but Santa's particular flex is that he makes dreams come true.
Yeah.
Right? And so the story then, so we changed the narrative from talking to Santa to being, hey, you're one of the guys and we really miss your superpower. And then of course we came in, and so musically we had to shift what writer 3, Hallmark writer, was coming up with, because his was very kind of undulating, almost ballady, mid-tempo. And I'm like, no, dear Santa, ba ba ba, I wish you were here. It's my favorite time of year. Come on, Santa, let's go. Join the band. You know what I mean? Let's go. And so we have the jingle bells, and that choo choo choo, and we have the chorus, bum 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 ba do bo 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 ba do. It's my favorite time. And I feel like that contact improv is exactly what happened, because he came with an idea
Yeah.
and the momentum bounced back into the room, and then it came back this way.
Yeah.
And all three of us, once we had the same visual of, what if we flip the story concept like this?
Yeah.
If we flip the story concept like this, doesn't the mood of it change as well?
Right.
Isn't it now, hey, right?
And it became something it didn't even know it could be.
Correct. It went to a place where there was a new parameter of potential.
Yep. Oh.
In its
because
initial,
you changed the container.
Yes. In its initial place, it only had a certain parameter of potential.
Yeah.
As soon as we changed the container, that water took on a whole different shape of the brand new container with new potential.
Yep.
And then, of course, once we changed the concept and it was buoyant, then we had to change the way the chords worked, and we had to change the tempo. It almost became double time. It became very, very George Michael, Wham, the whole Christmas,
Right.
like one of those kind of up-tempo, or Mariah Carey, right? The Christmas classic.
Yeah.
And it had and so the tone changed to being very festive and very joyous and very homey, very buddy. But it only happened because of the contact improv of it being pushed to one side and then returned,
Right.
and then volleyed back,
Yeah.
and then ping-ponged back, and then tennised forward, and then it's all of these back and forth, the tennis, pickleball, badminton, volleyball, where you feed it out, it comes back to you differently. So you have to respond differently, and you feed it out differently yet again. It comes back to you, and it's this constant conversation that keeps evolving in a way that contact improv does, with its momentum and its mood and its color. And so this thing, once we started riding that wave of contact improv as a three-piece of writers in that room, and we were all on the same page of, this is the concept, this is the mood, this is how we serve it best. And we stopped caring about, this is my idea, I need to hang on to that idea, it's the best idea here. This is no, we're like,
it's what is it?
Yeah, your idea is great. My idea is great. But combined, collaboratively, this idea has a whole different set of potential. And then you go with that.
And what I want to add in, because is your idea is great, my idea is great, but they're still separate. Like,
right.
The third enters the room when it's not about yours is great, mine is great. It's like, what's here? Like, all of a sudden, the third arrives in the room and says, this is what it is.
Yeah. And then it takes on a life of its own, because your relationship with a lover isn't about you or the lover.
Right.
The relationship is the thing between you. It's a separate entity.
Yes.
That both of you feed into.
Yes.
And that entity can only happen with these two specific individuals. Any other combo of individuals would create a separate third entity, which would be different. It would be unique to them, right?
Yeah.
So in a room with collaborators, whether it's you in Manitoba or me in writing the Christmas jingle in the peak of summer, it becomes its own force that you are raising and serving, which has very little to do with any one individual in the room. It takes on its own life. That is, I think, why art is so incredible, and why I'm in service of art, because there's a magic sprinkling, there's a fairy dust, or whatever that thing is, that I can't analyze, I don't fully understand. It continues to be an elusive mystery to me, and I continue to chase it because it's so inspiring, and it's so it's just undissectable, but it's very palpable. It's concrete. Can't touch it, but it's in the room, and it drives you. If you have no fear, no ego attached, it can actually drive the process if you're in service of it. It's kind of incredible. And you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to happen on a Tuesday morning with big Manitoba mosquitoes around you, or in a really small writing space with two other 50-year-olds, like combined, we had an age of 170 there or something. And we're writing a Christmas carol. But the magic clearly poked out and said, I'm here, let's go. And those moments are so beautiful, and you can't plan them.
No.
You can only come in open. You can't plan them. And when they happen, you're grateful, and you just kind of ride it. Don't analyze it. It's beautiful, and just keep giving, keep. And sometimes giving is shutting up and listening, but you keep giving and moving. By giving, I mean moving the moving the process forward, and whatever that means. That may mean contribute or say nothing and wait for other influences to contribute, or whatever it is. But keep feeding that animal, because that animal is a whole separate thing that'll take you on a ride you'd never expect it to take when you first walked into that room. Because you can't do that on your own. It's not in you. It requires contact improv.
Yeah. You can't do that on your own.
I can do this with my hands, but I can predict. I know what my hand's going to do. Contact improv is it's improv. You don't know what your partner is going to do and where that
you don't know what's going to happen when you touch. You don't know.
Yeah.
You can't know. And when you do know, when you make that shit up, you're no longer in the moment, and the third can't show up. Okay, so but life. Tell me about what this means to you about life.
That what I just described, with a somewhat impassioned approach, that's life. That's your lover. That's your relationship with your kids. That's everything. It's when last night my kids and I went to a patio in our undisclosed location, and we had some pizza. But it wasn't about pizza. It was that the chef was one of my boys' best friends and schoolmates. It was that on the patio we saw some wonderful neighbors that we knew and had a great relationship with, and they came over to say hi, and then we came over to say hi. And it was the fact that there were some tourists visiting, and we engaged them in conversation about the best parts of our location to see that are not touristy parts. And the experience of it all, that was contact improv. I went in, just me and my hungry belly and my open mouth and my credit card, just to get pizza. That's really the plot line. That's what the script says.
That's the
Alex is just going in for pizza. And pizza was so in the back seat. It was so tertiary. Everything that made last night a memory had nothing to do with the pizza. It had to do with the contact improv of interaction with the children, the friends, the great neighbors, the tourists. It's the constant weaving and braiding of experiences and people and conversation, what they bring to you, how you respond, and how you volley that back, the whole ping pong tennis, badminton thing. If you are cognizant and conscious and live your life that way, you're going to have such a richer ride every day. And I'm sure that everybody's going to walk away from that evening going, wasn't that great? The pizza was good, yeah, but it's kind of great to meet that person, or this conversation was awesome, or I'm so glad I'm visiting this place.
No one's going to talk about the pizza.
But everybody's going to talk about the thing nobody expected. That only happened because everybody participated and engaged.
Yeah.
So you go there with a concrete mission.
Yeah. But
the concrete mission is really the door opening to something you could never expect, something bigger. Yeah. It's your portal to something. It's the gestalt. It's the everything, right? That's the human condition. And eating the pizza is not the human condition. The human condition is this. It's the richness and the juice and life. It's the bubbling over.
Now, if I'm thinking about the place that you went and had pizza at, it is sometimes about the pizza. Because the pizza is
pizza and the patio lanterns, and we were outside, and it was like, and the dog was in the courtyard. He was in the middle of all the action, our dog Maximus. So the pizza was stupendous.
You know that my two older boys made pizza there for a long time.
I knew that one of them did.
Best
but
pizza.
Incredible.
They wanted their mitts on the third one, but they got them up at the other place instead.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. So that's why we went there. It was about the pizza, but it turned into so much more. And that's life. I think contact improv is life. The openness of that to it is life.
Contact improv is life.
And that's the fact that you brought up contact improv is incredible, because I first learned about it when I was accompanying dance class. I was putting myself through university, and I was accompanying not just ballet class, but modern class. And all of a sudden, I got into the contact improv world. This is really, really flaky at first, because I wasn't receptive. It made me feel a little cringy.
You see what a good match we are? Like, I totally embody the like flaky woo woo
Hmm.
thing.
No, but it was cringy. And then I realized how much freedom
Oh,
the the participants were granting themselves,
mm-hmm,
and how much strength and courage it took
mm-hmm,
to get to that place of freedom where they could just go with somebody else.
mm-hmm,
And I thought, oh, these people are braver and stronger than me and more
mm-hmm,
daring than me. And it stopped being cringy and started becoming a challenge of how can I reach that place?
mm-hmm,
Because they've got something that I don't have, and I
mm-hmm.
need to tap into that. And so, when you're 20 years old and you're accompanying for those classes as a 20-year-old, it's normal to have that reaction
Mm-hmm.
of the cringe.
Sure.
But then all of a sudden you have these epiphanies as you get older, and you become a little more susceptible to the power of suggestion because you don't know everything, and you're not the epicenter of the universe, not even in your own head, in your own life. You're like, oh, yes, a teachable moment, please, I'm hungry for this. So you bringing up contact improv just took me all the way back to my 20s and my own inadequacies and insecurities, and the whole traversing that whole
Yes.
continuum of let's grow up and let's just go. Let's just dive into life. So I think in the past episode we're talking about diving into the ocean or bull in the china shop, whatever metaphor, euphemism you want to use, but
Well, I
that's it,
I
man.
think
That's
on our next conversation we can go here because I think we can close on this one. Here's my thought. Here's what I've noticed as an agitated person over 50
you and me both.
is that my 50s feel like my 20s. The only difference is in my 20s, it was like anything is possible. And there was so much anxiety about making the choice because what if it's the wrong thing? Or will somebody like me if I do this or not like me? Like, do I even know who I am? Like, there's so much anxiety around it. But the feeling of anything is possible. And in my 50s, it's the same, like, oh my God, anything is possible. And I'm less anxious. I'm more wise, which can sometimes can also be a bit of a doorway because you're like, oh shit, I'm too wise for that. But you can work your way around it through that.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing.
You're so right.
Right?
I am right now. I can't believe you just said this because I've been talking to a few people lately and I said, remember that? So I'm empty nesting and I'm struggling, but I'm also rediscovering my freedom and redefining what my life looks like. And I've been saying to people, I feel very much like I just graduated high school. Because when you graduate high school and you're 17, 18, you think, oh, the world of possibilities, infinite possibilities is at my feet.
Yeah.
I feel exactly the same way, except when I graduated high school, I was poor and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a little more financial stability, and hopefully I'm less stupid. But you're again looking cyclically at the world of possibilities, and you're like, oh, I feel 18 or 20 or 25 again. And then you realize, oh, it's like the 80s fashions. The kids that wear them today don't remember how silly skinny ties and short jackets were, right? But they're cool. But life has this spiral curriculum. Like it cycles back to take you and teach you and build on the initial spiral as it crafts new spirals on top of that.
I've never... certainly have done a lot of inquiry into spiral dynamics and all that stuff, but spiral curriculum
as an educator,
like it's a spiral curriculum,
right? 18 and possibilities, and then bump up encumbrances, parenting, 50 and possibilities, and you see exactly the same vista, but from a much more evolved place. That you needed those 3 decades in between to get you there, or the fashion, or the music, and the kids are discovering the cure now. Okay, that's congratulations on your discovery of the cure. Now, if you're a student of the game and a historian, you realize that the cure was really discovered by people who are 40 years older than you. So, but it's that spiral curriculum of life. And in academia, they teach you as a teacher when you're coming up to specialize in the spiral curriculum. Always come back and build. And come back and build. It's like the bees building a beehive, right?
Yeah.
Come back and build. Come back and build. Come back and build.
Wow, I did not know that.
So you have a foot in the familiar and 1 foot in the new.
Yeah,
always. But the familiar elevates as you keep building, and the new. Familiar, new. And that's how you write music as well. Because every time you want to introduce a new hybrid, you need a foot in the old, something that is familiar, but
Right.
then we're going to create a new melange, a new combo of things. But that's life. I see it as a spiral curriculum in every lane, in every facet of life. That's the process. That's the process at its most holistic.
So I think we need to wrap this up. And at the same time, I just want to name, like, we've actually touched on 4 things, 4 big things in this. We opened on therapist, the rapist, which led us into the conversation about words. That words are just words. And I know words are also a lot more than just words, but words are also just words.
Okay.
We started there. We went into being all in. Then we went into contact, and the third that shows up
That's right.
in contact.
Between 2 people, there's a third party that only those 2 create.
That's right.
Contact improv.
And then this 4th thing about spiral education, spiral learning, spiral
Curriculum of life.
spiral curriculum of life.
Which is fundamental.
Wow.
Fundamental. And even in child rearing, you revisit. You did all the stuff with child 1, child 2. You revisit all the stuff you did with child 1. But
Yeah,
there's a new
level of awareness.
Right, or you
Totally.
assign less meaning to things that matter less.
Yeah,
But that's because you're building new things on the old and the familiar foundation.
yeah.
But it's everywhere. Yeah. This whole thing it's captivating. And I wonder, dear viewer, now that you're over our linguistic battles, and you've also looked up some big words in your dictionaries, I wonder if you can do a little self-reflection and notice the spiral curriculum at work in your lives, or notice the third entity between you and your lover, or you
Sure.
and your co-parent, or whatever, effective and vibrant in your life,
Or the way you judge things that people say.
or the way that you give yourself permission to go all in. Do you? When was the last time? Is it significant? Do you only allow yourself to go all in when you spread Nutella on your sandwich because it's safe? Or do you allow yourself to go in by taking greater risks in your life? And do you do it with regularity, or is it more incidental as a byproduct of a
I
particular
bet
situation?
you was a high achieving professor. Did you have super high standards for your students?
Failed a few students.
I bet you did.
Failed a few students.
And I mentioned that just because what I love about you and being with you.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the episode.
Oh,
I just
okay.
know it. Carry on.
Is the way that we are both relentless in our we're not satisfied until for me, and it's like I'm not satisfied unless my 120% has showed up.
Mhm.
I'm not satisfied unless I've got 3 steps past the boundary. And yours, it's a similar thing, but it's about excellence. It's about the integrity of the exquisiteness of something. Like you go all the way in learning.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that. Just pause for a sec. So you've given us okay, learner, here are the 4 things I want you to potentially reflect on and see blah, blah, blah.
But I tried to do it with my most soothing fake voice. Okay, so but really inside I'm boiling with all of these thoughts and concepts. I'm like bubbling over. But yes.
So
Okay,
I'm
learner.
going to do the antithesis. And I'm going to say, and I have just as high expectations for every listener on here.
Right.
And I'm going to say, tell me or tell us in the chat what hit you. Doesn't even have to make sense. If you listen to our last episode around emergence, or maybe it was this one. Oh yeah, pre-verbal. That's this one. So what hit you?
It's been a long episode.
It's been a long
We
episode.
covered a lot of ground.
It doesn't even have to make sense. Just in there. And we will be here.
But it's that aesthetic reaction.
Aesthetic response. That's right.
What aesthetic response have you had to any of the big ticket items that we've covered? Because we've covered quite a few.
Yeah.
But how does your gut respond viscerally, naturally? You check in with yourselves. Listen, we're doing this to shake things up. We want a car crash. we want a car crash because everybody's driving safely and slowly.
So this thing I learned in David Diamond's class, just do this. Just push against me.
Yes.
Okay. This is what life is. Now, if you push and I'm not there.
Okay, I don't want that to be
right.
life.
Force.
Force, yes.
Force is something happening.
That's
Something's
electric.
happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a oh. No, we're done with this episode. It's not going to get better. Force. Let's go.
Okay. See you next time.
I'm your ice cream man, baby. Stop me when I'm passing by.